Hello, Redwood Nation. My name is Arlen Knox, and I am the Chief Marketing Officer. And I'm thrilled to have Eric Rimpel, Chief Innovation Officer, joining me today. We're going to be chatting about the newly launched Gartner Market Guide for 4PLs. Spoiler alert, Redwood is named as a representative vendor. So we are so excited. Eric, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me today. And I'm really excited that Redwood was named a representative vendor in the Gartner 4PL Market Guide, and happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's get started. Let's talk about basics. There's still confusion in this market. What is a 4PL? That's the whole need why Gartner had to create a market guide. So break it down for us. Tell us exactly what is a 4PL. Is it just outsourced transportation management? What exactly is 4PL?
You're giving me the hard questions first thing in the morning. I like it. It's an interesting thing to describe, right? Because we're just adding one. Well, what does that one mean, right? So 4PL is at least by Gartner definitions really a supply chain services provider that takes care of the design, build, run, and measurement, as well as the orchestration of end-to-end logistics network. So let's break that down into something simple. Go into a client site, understand what they need, create a solution, execute on it, measure it, and make sure that the results are being shown, but also orchestrating a logistics network, right? In comes the digital side of things. So what you're really talking about is it's bridging the gap between all of the physical logistics work that is being done, as well as all of the digital capabilities that an organization needs to orchestrate things happening so that when an event takes place in a warehouse management system, it triggers a transportation management system to do something, and vice versa, and order management, all of that together. And what we're really talking about is a harmonized and event-driven supply chain. And so if you think about that, right, your 4PL is managing not just the physical execution, but also delivering end-to-end visibility, management, optimization, right, via an integrated technology platform. And so what we've seen in the market is that there's this growing demand for 4PL services. You're seeing things like e-commerce, like reverse logistics management, the demand for new technology, even all of those small applications out there from cubing and utilization, optimization, and even invoice audit and freight payment tools that organizations want to weave into their solutions, right, into their orchestrated supply chain. But the big challenge is many companies lack that tech investment to get it done, right? That end-to-end integration of everything physical and everything digital. So 4PL really is an easy button, right? It's a fast track to getting those things done.
So, this is talked a little bit about in the market guide as well, but what's the difference between then a 3PL, which everyone has heard of, knows of, and a 4PL? Where has this industry evolved to now sort of name it a new name, 4PL? What's really the difference?
Right. So traditionally, like if you take 3PL, like first of all, what does 3PL mean, right? Third party logistics, right? So the first party is the shipper, the second party is a carrier, the third party is an intermediary that can, facilitate everything. And so then what is a fourth party? Well, traditionally a fourth party has been a party that manages the third parties and the second parties for that organization. But that definition is starting to change, right? So a 3PL could have in the past been, considered to do a lot of these services, right, where they're delivering part or all of an organization's supply chain functions, whereas, a 4PL will fully run that supply chain on behalf of the customer, was that traditional solution. Today, we're seeing 4PLs really want the tools, the capabilities, the playbooks, and they still want to run some of it themselves. So we're finding this balance in between in terms of what flavor of 4PL organizations are looking for. 3PLs generally focus on the niche aspects and they excel at doing that, perhaps cross-border, perhaps international container movement, maybe over-the-road transportation. Whereas a 4PL targets a broad array of solutions and they manage it. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to have all of those solutions. They may not have an Asia or LATAM capability, but they have the partners that can do that. So again, back to orchestration, a 4PL can weave all of those together so that the shipper doesn't need to worry about it. 3PL offers, procurement, warehousing, back office services. 4PL goes a layer up, right? End-to-end supply chain planning, management, design, optimization. Think network studies, where should we place warehouses, how do we reconfigure our nearshoring strategy, what does that cost, can we run actual data models around it. That's more of the 4PL game. You're looking at organizations on a 3PL side that they're generally working with companies that have a pretty good supply chain design process in place, whereas a 4PL is going in there to streamline that. Maybe it's not all of it, maybe it's part of it, maybe it's procurement, maybe it's automation, maybe it's the design and execution of how they automate workflow. But a 4PL will go in, more as a higher level consultant, seek to understand, and then help design a future go forward state across how that organization manages and automates their supply chain. And again, 3PLs, they can be insourced or outsourced. A lot of times 4PLs in the past have been fully outsourced. We like to look at that model as evolving where, Redwood, and, we'll get to this in a bit, I think, I'm assuming you're going to ask me about it, but, maybe they want something in between, right? Maybe they don't want it all outsourced. Maybe they want their technology strategy to be outsourced, but maybe they want to operate, their logistics network internally and their procurement network internally. And all of those are just fine when you've got the flexibility to do so.
So who is this model right for? Is it anyone, come one, come all? Who exactly sort of thrives? What industries do we see adopting this 4PL model?
So I would argue that traditionally 4PLs have been a Fortune 50 type, product offering, right? Where you need a pretty large logistics and supply chain spend to justify outsourcing everything to an organization that would then manage it on your behalf. Redwood is taking a slightly different approach where, we look at it as taking the Fortune 50 to the Fortune 5,000. And what that really means is, how do we deliver a 4PL solution where you have end-to-end logistics execution, end-to-end, technology orchestration and process and workflow automation in between, and provide a solution to the large organizations and to the small one. And that we're able to do that. It's a slightly different model where our open approach is enabling us to look a little bit closer at the nuances of each organization being different, creating a solution that works for them, and then delivering that at scale over and over, whether you're a Fortune 50 or a Fortune 5,000.
So you talk a lot about the model, you talk about who can adopt it, you sort of explained what 4PL means, but what is it then about Redwood? Why is Redwood a 4PL? What makes us so unique? And how have we evolved from our background of being a traditional freight broker now all the way to this fully formed 4PL that can orchestrate across that logistics execution and supply chain technology?
Yeah, so for us, the big difference is our strategy towards being open. So a lot of our esteemed competitors that were referenced in the guide, they have a technology stack that's pretty darn sophisticated, and the ability to execute on logistics. Redwood's approach is that, yes, we execute on logistics and we do a great job of managing that for our customers, but over the last decade that we've been providing 4PL services to hundreds of customers, we've seen that they don't want to be pigeonholed into a solution of a technology platform, something that maybe isn't flexible, something that maybe doesn't let them bolt on additional technologies that they think would really improve their supply chain operations. So Redwood's approach to this is having an open ecosystem. And the way we've done that is we have a layer in between our delivery of supply chain technology and logistics execution, and that's Redwood Connect, our enterprise integration platform as a service built for logistics and supply chain. And what that does is it allows our customers to create a single plug into this digital fabric layer between logistics and technology, and then mix and match whatever they want in terms of which TMS they want, SAP, Oracle, MercuryGate, it doesn't matter which warehouse management solution they're using, any order management system they may already have on premise, which carriers do they want via EDI, API through partners like Project 44, and really mixing and matching all of those in an a la carte fashion, which enables them to have the maximum return, but also doing it in a way that almost feels like a Lego board, where our 4PL approach is, here's a platform for you to leverage in Redwood Connect, and then place your components that you want as well as be able to rearrange them in the future with very little effort and very little risk so that your supply chain is as flexible and nimble as possible. And for us, that's what we're calling modern 4PL and open 4PL, a really nimble approach towards how do you orchestrate digital supply chains.
So it sounds like no matter what industry, no matter your size, we've got that customized Lego board for you. We've got that open ecosystem for you. So Eric, thank you for breaking down this new market guide for us. Thanks for explaining a little bit about 4PL. We appreciate your time. Any last comments? Any last words?
Not really. Thank you for having me here today. This was a lot of fun. Looking forward to chatting.
Yeah. Well, we've dropped in the link to our landing page. We have a complimentary access to the Gartner 2023 Market Guide for 4PLs. Please check it out. We're so excited to be featured. Thank you again, Eric, for joining us, and hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Have a good one.